What's up guys, welcome back to the video. Social Vibes here to help you out with all your coffee tech and social media needs. And today I just wanted to walk you guys through my workflow as I shoot, edit, color grade, and export with the Blackmagic 6K. Alright guys, so jumping right in, I'm going to tell you guys what my settings are that I shoot with whenever I'm shooting with the Blackmagic 6K. And if you guys want a detailed video on the settings that you should be using for the 6K, you can check out the link right above me where I do a deep dive into the resolutions and things like that with the Blackmagic 6K. So to let you guys know what I use Blackmagic RAW, and I shoot in a consistent quality at Q0, and I shoot that at the highest resolution I can, which is 6K. And with my dynamic range, I'm shooting at film because I can get the most out of it in the color grading process. However, I did find out as I was editing, doing color grading, that if you don't choose the film setting, or if you're on video or extended video, you can change that in the settings in Davinci Resolve. So I'm gonna be moving pretty quick as I show you guys this process. However, I am very responsive in the comment section. So if you have any questions or if you missed something, please let me know in the comment section below and I will go back and I'll read those and reply. So the first thing that I do whenever I get into the editing program is I start a new database. I like to have all my files saved in one location so that there's no weird stuff going on if I want to recover files later, or if I want to copy a color grade from a video to use it on another video later. I don't have issues trying to locate different files that weren't there. So what I'm actually going to do is open up the file from one of my other videos I just made, the 6K Pro, so that I can show you guys a little bit more in detail what I do. So in the cut page, I am only working with dialogue. I am trying to get all of my dialogue clips laid down on the timeline appropriately. I will go through really quickly and listen so I can speed up my workflow. And to do that, you want to just hit the L key, and that speeds up your video. And then the K key, it stops and pauses it. And then the J key goes backwards. And so if you hit that again, it's gonna go quick backwards. And so I use this to quickly cut my audio clips within the clip page. And whenever I find the exact place that I want, then I'm gonna hit the arrow key until I get right before the audio comes, and then I hit I set my endpoint. I find out where I want the clip to end. I hit the O for my out point. And then for me, I created a keyboard shortcut, and I basically just hit that button and it drops it in my timeline, and it drops it behind the last clip on the timeline so that I can just stay up here in this window over here the entire time while I'm editing. I don't have to move from that window literally at all. Over in the next tab, what I do is I go through and I just make sure that these cuts right here are nice and tight. What I do is I again just use those front and back arrow keys just to make sure that I'm not having any weird pauses as I'm speaking. And then from here, I also drop in my music down here on my timeline. And again, this is very important because the way I edit my audio is important to where the audio clips are. So on audio 1, all my dialogue clips are found on that timeline, and then on audio 3 is where I put my music. All I do right here is I'll quickly fix up those cuts, and then I'll do some overlays of B-roll over here in this tab. Any graphics or animations, I will bring those guys in. Now, as of this moment, I don't do any of my graphics or animations in Davinci Resolve because the Fusion tab is quite a bit to learn, and so I'm gonna learn it. However, I do all of my graphics and everything in After Effects, and then I just drop it in here. So that isn't as efficient, but that's just because I haven't took the time that I need to learn Fusion. And so I recommend that you guys learn Fusion to cut that time down. All right, so that's all I do in the edit tab. However, I will come back here very often to tweak things. But another important thing that I want to let you guys know is I use a color chart to color grade. So this guy right here, what you see on the screen, I use this guy to color grade. And this really helps me to get my colors accurate right before I decide to grade it a certain way. And so it looks like this right here. If you don't have one of these guys, you can find one in the link below in the description. They are expensive, but I'm telling you, This guy right here makes the difference between good video and great video. You're able to really balance your video colors out well whenever you're shooting, especially when you're shooting with the Blackmagic. I strongly recommend that you get this. Back to the video, what I will do is I will just record a shot of this, and then I want to make sure that I also show the white balance card like that. Hit my O, and then I'm just gonna drop that way over here, not even close to the other clips, because I'm gonna delete that later. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump into my audio tab. Over here in my audio tab, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to first add on my effects. As you can see right here, is already there, but I'm gonna show you guys what this is. So on track 1, which is just audio, Alex Audio Butler. Awesome plugin. Basically what this guy does for you is it EQs your audio, and it also gives us some compression, as you can see right here. It does a lot for your voice, and it's not like just a regular set plugin. It adapts to whatever voices you have in the program. So for instance, what I like to do is I do constant source because I'm shooting in a studio environment usually. However, if there's multiple voices in the video, I'll choose various sources, or if I'm in different areas in the video, I'll choose various sources. And then usually general is great. Most of the time I go with natural, and then if I'm doing something that's strictly voiceovers, I'm probably gonna do max. So that's an awesome plugin, and I'm gonna be using this throughout every single track on my audio. So next we're gonna go right over here to the third audio track, and I'm just gonna do the music one. And then over here on the bus, which is the overall output of the music, I'm gonna do the master. Now what the master does is it kind of cleans up everything, makes it loud enough where it should be for broadcasting or for archiving or for online content. And it does it very, very well. And so that is, other than that, I do one other thing. I do have my own custom EQ that I've done for my voice, and I made a preset for that, which you can find right here. And I just apply that right there, just like that, hit apply. And that's just for my voice. So that's what I do over in the audio tab, and that's pretty much it. Now, as you can see over here, you have this Alex Audio Butler. This guy be running as you're editing, and it'll be listening to your voice, making tweaks the entire time. So as soon as you apply this, it's not gonna sound the best. It's gonna take you a little bit more time as you're editing and as you're playing the video and pausing it. This guy's gonna be doing stuff in the background to make your audio sound crisp and good. And very important, I forgot to tell you guys what I do for my settings. So if you click the gear tab down there, what I do for my settings is I do 3840, and then I do that by 1920. So it's like a 1:2 ratio almost. But basically what that allows you to do is whenever you're on the iPhone, you can use more or the most of the screen that you can whenever you're watching a video. Now for my frame rate, I always shoot at 23.976. And then I'm gonna go over here to image scale, and I'm going to do scale full frame with crop, because essentially whenever you're shooting at that 1:2 ratio, you're not going to be able to use the full amount of the video because it's being shot in a 16:9 ratio, and so you're going to have to crop it. So I just want all of my clips to go ahead and crop by themselves so I don't have to do that. Hit save, and yes, I want to change it. So sorry, you need to do that from the beginning of the video. I should have said that earlier, but you want to make sure that you set up your project timeline to be exactly what you want it to be. All right, so now with that being said, we're going to jump right into coloring. So like I said earlier, if you did not shoot your clip in the right way you wanted it to, you can make some adjustments to the raw settings over here on the first tab. So I never really use this, because if you're using this, that meant that you didn't shoot something right. And so I try to shoot everything as best as I can whenever I'm shooting. So if you did not shoot in film, again, you can go back over here and you can change that stuff. We're gonna go over to the next tab, the color matcher. And what I do from here is I go all the way down and I select my color checker passport video. Up here in this tab, I'm gonna do the color chart, zoom in. All I did was pinch the mouse pad to do that. And then we are going to set this guy up. And then from there, I go down here and I choose whatever I shot in. So film is what I shot in. And my color space that I'm going to be exporting and editing in is 709, Rec 709. If you have a Sony camera or any other camera, you may need to change that depending on color space you shot on, you may need to change that, or whatever you want to export in, you need to change that. For me, I export everything at 709. So then I do match, and boom, that's gonna match it up for me, just like that. You can see there's some weird blue stuff going on right there. We're gonna fix that here in just a second. So next what I do is Option S, create a new node over here. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna go right down here. And again, I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna go pretty quick, but if you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. So I'm gonna grab this pen tool and I'm gonna create a box around the first row. Boom. Hit this magic wand thing up here to get the grid to come on. So you go down here and you wanna make sure that you're on your waveform scopes. You wanna make that go big, and you wanna make sure that you have color on. And usually what I do is I bring up my waveform so that I can see the colors quite a bit. So you can see that you have these different colors. You have blue, red, and green, or I said that backwards, red, green, and blue. And you're not supposed to be able to see that. You want this to be all white. There's even a little bit of yellow up there, which is really weird. Colors are weird on this. I have no idea what's going on. But you have this white up here. So to fix this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go right over here to this tab right here, and you're gonna work in this first graph. First, I usually start off by fixing my blues because the blues are always off. I have no idea why. So at the top, you can see that it's lower than it needs to be. So right there. And you can really never get it perfect because you can see that I made it white on the top, the highest one, but it's still like weird over here. And so down here, I'm going to make the green be where it needs to be. So I'm gonna bring the blue down to the green. Usually what I do for this is I put a dot in the middle so it doesn't affect anything that happens here and only affects down here. So just like that. But again, you can really never get this stuff perfect. And as soon as I move that, you can see that this up here is moving. So now we gotta go back over here and make more adjustments and actually bring it down this time. So you guys get it. You wanna make it as wide as you possibly can. And for me, I've only been able to get that perfect a handful of times. It just depends on the lighting conditions. If I'm shooting with my aperture light, I'm usually able to get that all the way white because the colors are consistent. Or the next thing that I do is I go over here to the white and I just want to level this out at about 896 right there. And then I want to bring the lows down right before it touches 0. And that's pretty much what I do in that tab. So I'm gonna close up the waveform box and then we're gonna go over here. We're gonna turn it back off. And then I'm gonna hit Control S. So now we're gonna correct our colors and maybe it'll clean up this crazy stuff over here, this blue in the corners. So I select my skin tones as well so that I can go ahead and match those as closely as I can as well. We're gonna go back over to the waveform. We're actually gonna go into the vector scope, make this really, really big, and you can see what we have over here. Blue is usually the one that's the most off all the time. Green's usually off. It's weird, I don't know why, but it seems like it's always an issue. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go right back over to the curves, and we're gonna go into the second one this time. And honestly guys, this seems like it could be complicated, but it's really not. It's super simple. So in the red, you just want to click the dots down here and adjust them to kind of point to the whatever box is around. So for instance, I'm going to click the red down here and I'm going to actually just move that over just a little bit. And then I'm going to click the yellow and then I'm going to move the yellow to the center of the box. The only one that's not pretty much self-explanatory is the skin tones, which lies in between the reds and the yellows. And so I'm just going to create a dot right there in the middle of the reds and the yellows and move that as close as I can to the center of that line. That line is basically a representation of the boxes for the colors. It's the same thing. You just want to make sure that these skin tones right here are pointing as closely to that line as it can. And that's pretty much it. I just did a really rough coloring, but I'm going to settle with that for now. And again, it's important that you remember that you need to go right back over to this window and turn off that so that it can apply to the rest of the clip. Next, what I'm gonna do is Option S again. And usually what I'm doing right here is I'm just setting my white balance to whatever it needs to be. So I am now gonna be working in the primaries. So I'm gonna grab the dropper tool and just fix my white balance just like that. Super easy, super simple. And I'm also gonna be referring to my waveforms without the colors. I'm just gonna do just a regular waveform, take down that brightness back to where it's supposed to be. And now I'm just, basically I'm starting to leave color correcting and I'm moving towards grading the clip. Whenever I get done with all of these, there's still some weird stuff going on over here on the waveform, and so I'm gonna bring it down to where it fits into the parameters where I want it to be. But again, because I shot with this super bright sun in the background, it's not gonna be perfect. So maybe this is a good example to show you guys that you can't always get it as perfect as you want to, because a lot of it comes down to the way you compose the shot whenever you're shooting. But for now, I'm gonna settle with that. So I'm gonna say, even though this shot was not composed correctly because of the highlights in the sun, this is as close as you're gonna get to as far as color correcting goes. Now we're gonna start grading. So for me, I usually like to do my saturation, 75%, and then I go over here to my color boost and I put that at 10%, and then I come over to my contrast and I give it some contrast, and then I mess with the pivot, and literally I go this fast whenever I do it. And then on my mid/details, I'm usually doing 30 every single time. And then I'm looking at the image to see what else I need to do after that. So as you can see, it's kind of dark in here. I would like it to come up a little bit. So I'm just gonna bring my gamma up, boom, just like that. And I didn't make, because I brung the gamma up, I made my colors not as dark as they should be. So I'm just gonna mess with the pivot a little bit more. Boom, and yep, that's pretty much literally all I would do as far as that, if I'm just color grading for YouTube clips. Now, if I'm doing like color grades, then there's gonna be like 5 or 6 other nodes over here. It's gonna get pretty crazy with nodes over here in this area, but that's just because I'm adding on so many different effects and manipulating the footage so much as far as coloring goes. But this is usually what I do in my workflow every single time, and it's pretty much the same thing. It's these same steps every single time. And if you would like, you can actually label these nodes so that you can keep up with it. But at this point, I know exactly what's on each and every node, and if I don't remember, then you can see it right down here. But my process is pretty much the same. So really quickly, I'm gonna show you guys how I export. I do ProRes, and then I select wherever I'm going to dump that file. The only thing that I change is I come down here and I use consistent bitrate, and I export on that. So that is my workflow process with the Blackmagic 6K. And if it was like kind of everywhere as far as the video goes and the timeline and the story of it all, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to show you guys exactly what I do as far as my workflow between shooting on a camera, getting it on a computer, and then editing it, and etc. So if you guys learned anything, please let me know what you learned in the comment section below. If you guys are gonna adopt any of this stuff to your workflow, also let me know what you're gonna adopt to your workflow in the comment section below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.